What's going on, football fans? Today is December 1st. I'm Kevin Carroll. He's Joe Soprano. And we're TLSportsBetting.com, your one-stop shop for everything you need for a good football weekend. And we have a good football weekend coming up for you. It's conference championship weekend on the college football gridiron. A lot of good NFL games coming up as well. A lot of good football we're looking forward to this weekend.
A lot of good games. A lot of championship games starting tonight. Oregon, Washington, big game there. A lot of games to decide who goes to the playoffs. A lot of importance there. I'm going right into the SEC.
Go ahead.
Got supposedly the best team in the nation, although I don't know who they've played to get that title.
Okay.
Taking on Alabama. I know Alabama struggled a little bit last week, needed a miracle to beat Auburn, but that you look the other way in those rivalry games. Crazy things happen in the Iron Bowl. Why do they call it the Iron Bowl? Somebody write in and tell me why they call it the Iron Bowl.
Do they iron the jerseys before the game?
I don't know, maybe. Who knows? But Bama, a 5-point dog. I don't know that they're going to win this game, but I think this is going to be a field goal game. I think Bama's offense is playing well now, as we saw against Auburn in that last drive. I think Georgia, I'm not convinced they're the best team in the nation. I think this is going to be a close game. It's going to be a field goal game. Bama might not win it, but they're going to keep it within 5 points.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Because I've got Georgia.
Well, you're wrong.
I've got Georgia. Well, I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. I feel like with Alabama, everyone's kind of looking at what they've done for the last decade or so, and they're kind of using that here. Like, oh, well, they're Alabama. They're in this situation. Of course, they're going to be competitive. They're probably going to, And I think a lot of people are also rooting for Alabama, or at least pulling for Alabama because of the chaos involved. If they win, then it's like, does Georgia fall out of the top four? Does Alabama leap into the top four? It'd be tough for them to do, but it would not be impossible. But I think that Georgia is just better on both sides of the ball. I think Alabama's gotten a lot better since the beginning of the season. Clearly they have. They've played really well down the stretch. Georgia, though, I don't like the idea that Georgia hasn't played anybody. I think they've played down to some weaker teams, but they also beat Ole Miss by like 30. They were a top 10 team. They beat Tennessee in Knoxville. They were ranked. They beat Missouri when they were ranked and arguably one of the hottest teams in the country. Georgia's just they're pedestrian because they've won 2 national titles in a row, and they've been number one the whole way. They haven't really dazzled anybody, but they've taken care of business at every step. I think they're going to take care of business again here. I think Georgia is going to firmly entrench themselves as the new Alabama, the new team where you're like, well, who could possibly step to them? I think Georgia fulfills that destiny on Saturday night.
I think Nick Saban's going to come in. First of all, did you see what Alabama did against the second half against Tennessee? It was like they were playing a Little League team.
I know. I'm just saying.
And when I say a Little League team, I don't mean little kids playing football. I mean like a Little League baseball team trying to play football.
If you say that Georgia hasn't played anybody, who's Alabama played? They played Texas.
They played Texas.
And they lost. So
I bet they won't lose that game now.
I agree with you, but I think Georgia's just a different class competitor. And you know what? My last note on this game too. I've kind of joked about this, the way Kirby Smart sort of pulls motivation out of nowhere for that team. Again, they have not lost in so long, and he still kind of positions themselves as the underdog. I think he's looking at the line on this game being so small, and people I think the bets are on Alabama. I think he's going to get that team fired up to play, telling them, even if it's not true, that no one believes in them. I think they're going to be fired up. I think Bama's going to be fired up too, because they always are, but I think Georgia's just better.
I think if you need to be fired up for playing for an SEC championship by bulletin board material, you've got a problem to begin with. Okay. But I'm not saying Georgia won't win this game. I'm just saying it's going to be a close game. It's a field goal game.
I don't know. I think Georgia's really just going to step to him. I'm not sure. I think they're going to really frustrate Jalen Milroe. I think he's going to make a couple bad throws, and I think Georgia's going to play not flashy. They're not going to razzle dazzle you, but they're not going to turn the ball over, and I think they're going to take care of business.
No. We'll see.
This is the first time in like 8 weeks I don't know how long we've been doing this. I don't think we've actually gone against one another on a pick. So
we'll see what happens on Saturday afternoon.
All right. And I wanted to touch on one more thing. If you haven't read my column that was in today's paper, you can get a pick for tonight's Pac-12 championship game there. So it's not too late to check that out. You can find today's paper. You can go to TLSportsBetting.com or TimesLeader.com and find that column and get a pick for tonight's game. But let's move on to the NFL. What do you got for the NFL?
Well, in my college pick, I think we could both agree we had 2 really good football teams playing in that game.
Yes, no question.
My NFL pick, not quite the same.
Oh, no.
we have two bad football teams playing.
It's been a lot of bad football this year in the National Football League.
But it's all about winning the bet, right? We don't really care the quality of the game or the quality of the teams.
That's for sure.
Somehow, the Carolina Panthers are only 5-point underdogs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know, whoever set that line obviously hasn't seen Carolina play all season. This is a bad football team with a bad quarterback, a number one draft pick that they gave up a lot of capital for. They're going to have the number one draft pick. Oh, no, that's right. They're not, because they're going to have the worst record in the league. But Chicago has this pick because they took this bum Bryce Young.
Damn.
Tampa Bay is going to win this game going away. It's not going to be competitive. If Carolina plays their absolute best, they'll score 10 points and they'll lose 17-10. But that's not going to happen. They're not a good football team. They elevated their special teams coach to interim coach, because that's when you fire a coach and you're looking for somebody to run the things, you always turn to your special teams coach. Take Tampa Bay.
If he's the guy, he's the guy. I tend to agree with you, though. I think Tampa Bay is maybe a little bit better than people. Not necessarily better, but I think they'll play better in this game than they have. So I've got the Lions. They're 4.5-point favorites. They're on the road at New Orleans, the Saints. I think the last time we did one of these, I had the Vikings winning outright as an underdog. Or maybe I didn't put it in the video, but I put it in the column. The Vikings taking care of business against New Orleans. That was Josh Dobbs, I believe, his first game in Minnesota. They did that. The Saints lost to the Falcons last week. They're just not a good football team. They played such an incredibly weak schedule through the first 7-8 weeks of the season. I think it's time now. You're going to see some better teams on the schedule for them. I think they're going to struggle. The Lions, they lost to Green Bay on Thanksgiving. Green Bay is, first of all, Jordan Love seems to be kind of rounding himself into form. I think Green Bay is not as bad as people think. But I think that Dan Campbell's going to have that team motivated to bounce back. I'm not too worried about them going on the road. The Saints have yet to cover spread at home this year. I think they're 0-3 against the spread at home. I don't see it for them here because the Lions' offense is so fast. They'll spread you out. They'll make you. They'll run the ball. They'll throw the ball. Goff is throwing the ball pretty well. He's not going to throw you downfield, but he's got that Amon-Ra St. Brown who will come underneath and just kill you. And I think their defense is just as good. Again, the Saints' defense, their rankings right now are pretty good. They're still a top half defense in pretty much every rushing, passing, whatever, scoring. But that's because of the teams they play. They're not. I don't think that defense is as good as advertised. I think it's largely a product of playing in a division where every team is pretty bad, and you're out of division games being like the Colts and the Titans, some rough teams to play. It's a very light breezy schedule early on in the year. The Lions are not that. The Lions have I think they want to prove to people that they're not trending downwards. Last week was just you lose games. Sometimes you lose games in the National Football League. I think it's all about how you bounce back. I think the Lions are going to bounce back. I think they're going to cover this 4.5-point number pretty easily.
Well,
yeah.
You know the one thing I'm sad about?
What's that?
As the holiday season kicks off.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any reason to make fun of Pat Narduzzi, the stupidest man in all of college football anymore, because their season's over.
They're not. How many? No bowl. No, they're not bowl eligible.
They won 3 games. I mean, I guess maybe they'll be up here at the Ralston Bowl over in Edwardsville next week. I don't know. I'll have to check that out.
They're playing in the Max Centennial Bowl Series. I heard next week against Alvernia.
I would take Alvernia.
Take Alvernia.
And I won't even worry about the line. I'd take Alvernia straight up.
Well, there's always next year probably for Pat. You think he's going to stay in Pitt? You think he's going to go elsewhere? What do you think he's going to do?
I think the Pittsburgh Panthers are stuck with him.
That's tough. That is tough. Well, welcome back to the airwaves, guys. I know we missed last week. Yep. We maybe Thanksgiving got the best of us.
That happens. You have that turkey, you get a little tired. What is it, the tryptophan or whatever?
Is that a word?
No, I think that's an old wives' tale.
Okay. Well, we're all about old wives' tales here. We're all about sports betting. We're all about tlsportsbetting.com here on this show. Again, head there. You can get everything you need for this weekend. A bunch of good game previews, some insights and analysis from the two of us. You can get my column again on the website and in today's paper if you haven't seen it. Good luck this weekend, and thank you guys for watching. Have a great weekend, and good luck.